Hey, stay tuned for a coffee fireside chat. This is the first video of the new year, and this is my plans I'm laying out for 2020, so stay tuned. Hello, welcome back to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I'm your host, Jerry Hansen. Wow, 2019 has been quite the year, but 2020 is a new adventure. In this coming year, I have a lot of plans, and the scope and basically the emphasis of this year, 2020, will be finishing unfinished projects. I plan not to start any new projects until all of the projects that I began from the time I bought the homestead until now are completed. There had been a lot of factors in place over reasons why I didn't complete one project or another. And it usually deals with not enough money or just, ran out of materials and lost interest. So all of the above. So I have to focus my entire energy and emphasis on finishing those unfinished projects for 2020. So the projects I have laid out to start and finish at some course through the year, and not necessarily in this order, but for the sake of this show, let's start at the front gate. I want to do something with my posts. I put those in when we first purchased the property, before the home was even over here or the RVs. And before I even started cleaning up, I wanted to get a nice secure gate in place. But I put these posts in with the intent of dressing them up and fixing them up. Well, it's been 6-7 years now, and I think it's time to do something with these gate posts. So I have plans on how I'm going to achieve that. Also, one of our plans is to put in an automatic gate opener, gate closer. So when my mother-in-law drives out, in and out of the gate, she doesn't have to get out of her vehicle. She just has to press the button in her console and just drive right through an open gate, and it closes automatically behind her. And it's also beneficial for security for the homestead and our privacy as well. So that is in the future plans of acquiring a gate opener. We have been talking about it since we bought the homestead and been really wanting to do that. So I think we're going to make that one of our main focuses to achieve this year. Another goal to finish is the gravel. I want to make sure that the entire driveway has a clean new surface over it, and that the gravel has a good bed of gravel over the top of it to even out the potholes. Yeah, driving up to the gate when it's cold and dark, it's miserable when you step out of the car, especially when it's dark, and plant your foot right in the middle of a deep pothole. Those are going the way. Yeah, I achieved that by bringing in about 25 pickup loads of rock for my parking area. Oh, that has been so great since I graveled that area better. Next thing I want to do is I resource this fuel tank from an estate cleanup. Yep, another item I got free. I want to build a suitable containment area that, God forbid, if it ever should leak, that the fuel is just contained right there on the site and doesn't spread out. And I want to build a little house around it, protect it, and I want to be able to buy fuel at its lowest cost in the year and then stockpile that fuel in this tank. So when fuel prices get too high, or situations happen where fuel supply is diminished or limited to our area, I can still get to and from work as I need. I only work 3 days a week, so it gives me 3 trips to and from town and gives us a little bit of a resource in a pinch also. Moving on down the driveway, another project I want to complete is my horseshoe pit. I want to plant my horseshoe stakes in the ground in an appropriate way, and I want to create a nice horseshoe area. I do enjoy horseshoes. My family enjoys horseshoes. And these benches I also acquired from an estate cleanup. I want to repaint those and get them finished and placed on site so everything looks nice and neat. And of course, back to the gravel option, I want to continue a drive path from my parking area on down to where the propane tanks are. This will serve me 2 purposes. Number one, it creates another wide fire barrier to keep wildfires away from the home, and that gives me more protection and more peace of mind. Also, it gives a path on which the delivery trucks can drive on when they deliver propane. I do plan on finishing the propane project. I have yet to get the permit, have the guy come out and inspect my ditch. Then I can fill in my ditch and bring in dirt and get it down to code depth, and also add another propane tank. I want 1,000 gallons of propane on inventory. That will achieve us at least 4 years of propane use for the homestead. So we're expecting a major earthquake. There's been a lot of recent activity up in the northern part of the Cascadia fault line, which has geologists really concerned. Yeah, we're a little concerned too. It could happen before I get it done, but we'll just make do with what we've got. Another thing I need to do is finishing my son's porch on his RV and build a duplicate porch for my big fifth wheel. This is actually we're using as our guest house. I originally got this fifth wheel that we lived in. We upgraded from an older travel trailer. We lived in this. Then we moved it over here to the ranch and lived in it while we were building and bringing the house over and putting it together. But now we're using it as a guest house. We're going to go ahead and hang on to it. And it's also another place in case my kids need a place to anchor. They have it. My son's got his place, and so I just want my family to be comfortable. Another project I need to finish, I really haven't started yet, but it's going to be a side project that I can do, and that is continue my restoration of this vintage RV. It's about the size I want for camping, and so I'm going to go ahead and restore it to suit my wants. I can't afford to go out and buy a new RV, so I'm just going to go ahead and piece together materials as I can afford them and just completely strip this down and renovate it. My plans are to replace all the wood in it, inside and outside. It's going to be costly, but at least it'll be a new RV to me. And as far as material goes, the skin will stay the same, metal skin, and all the electrical will be upgraded to LED, and I'll have it set up where it's standalone. So moving on to another project I really need to get done, and that is building a new front porch across the front of the house. My initial plans are to build a front porch 8 feet out and the entire length of the house, which is 48 feet long. So that's going to be a major project which I need to start and finish this year. That's one of the plans that we've been talking about for a long time. So we really need to get it done. Good coffee. This is really good coffee. It's Pete's coffee I found at Walmart, and they serve it in little K-cups, so I can get about 2 cups of coffee out of one little pod. And yeah, it's pretty potent, but I love good coffee. Anyway, moving on to the other projects, I need to rethink my solar power. Okay, tentatively, this is not for sure, but tentatively I'm thinking of pouring a cement slab around the base of my solar panels, and then moving the generator over here on the back side, and then on the front side build a little cement block house to facilitate the battery banks and the charge controller and the inverter, and then just run a wire through a conduit underground into the house to service the box, moving everything down here. Now that puts it quite a distance away from the windmill. The wind turbine hardly ever runs at all, so basically it's yard art. It's pretty useless right now. So what I'll go ahead and do is attach that to a different set of batteries and have those batteries run something totally different, like battery chargers, to keep all my batteries charged for all my my power tools. So that's a project I think I can achieve this year. I also want to switch out my batteries, as these batteries are aging, and I want to go to maybe recycled, repurposed Leaf car batteries or Tesla batteries. I'm exploring that option right now. I do want to finish the greenhouse and get that project started and finished this winter. I want to paint the inside wood to protect it. I'm going to go ahead and paint it white, and I want to remove everything, all the contents from the greenhouse, and right down to the bare soil surface. Right now I have plywood down on which to walk on. I don't like that. I want to be able to lay cement down, so I'm going to bring in bags of cement. We're going to pour it out, level it out a little bit with a slight slope, and then I'm going to go ahead, wet it down, and let it harden, and create a impenetrable surface for weeds and rats and rodents getting into my garden beds. I had a bad experience with that this past year, and I don't like it. So I also have other plans of innovations in the greenhouse. Just stay tuned for those. I'm still developing them in my mind, and we'll figure it out as we go along, because one of the future projects I do want to install in the greenhouse, and that is a small aquaponics system. I want to have a fresh fish source, and I think that I could achieve that in the greenhouse. We'll see how that goes. Also, turning my attention to the garden, I'm continuing building raised beds in the garden and extending them on back. I'm also going to build some smaller beds so I can plant those products that grow year after year. You plant once, like asparagus and artichoke and the berries, but they're contained in the raised beds. And plus, bring in rock and go ahead and put in the rock paths around the raised beds. Since I laid the sawdust down on the plastic, it has been wonderful not to have to weed the garden. Very wonderful. Okay, and as I still have these stupid stumps in my garden, I'm going to work on getting those burnt out and removed somehow from the garden in 2020 this year. Another project I need to finish is going ahead and my fence. I need to cut those posts off that are sticking up, and I want to add a top rail across the whole surface and get the fence, all the wood on the fence, painted. Since I'm back here in the garden and talking about finishing projects, I have this pot of gravel surfaces I haven't finished yet. I still need to get maybe 4 truckloads to get this area done. And this one site I want to put a little roof over, and it will give me a little facility in which to park my rototiller, my lawnmower, and my other implements that I need to keep out of the weather. And I thought this would be a good place out of the way to achieve that. I also want to get a gravel path going back to the barn on which to haul in loads of feed and hay and straw, and be able to back the truck right up to the barn and offload it right there. And of course, there's also finally getting the gravel paths in, going to all of my outbuildings. I've been wanting that for years, been trying different methods of getting out of the mud. But it all disappears. I'm still in the mud back there, and it's miserable. So, another project I want to finish, and that is the fencing. I got all the fencing done this year, or last year, around the garden, and now I want to extend the fence across the backyard and down the side in the same style as the fence I have across my garden. Let's go ahead and go back into the livestock section, and I'll show you guys what I want to achieve back there. The bee barn I found is in a poor location. I want to move it behind the bees, so I'm going to move it and place it up in the trees here in a close proximity of the bees. The bee posts I'm going to be moving back and actually cementing them into the ground so they'll hold a heavier hive full of honey better, because the ground gets too soft and the posts start leaning under all that weight. And yes, those hives are heavy, and I plan on lowering the posts a little bit, or digging my holes deeper so the posts will set deeper into the ground. But that's it on the beekeeping part of the livestock. I also need to do something with a chicken coop. The chicken coop was the first project I built on the homestead in conjunction with the original barn. This chicken coop, I need to add some more features to it and finish it. The one thing I want to do is jack it up, raise it up in the air, and then pour a cement slab under it, and then set it down on the cement slab so I don't have to worry about rats and rodents getting in underneath, because the metal tin bottom that I have under there is now finally starting to rust away and creating big holes, which is giving avenues for the rats and mice to get in, and I really don't want any critters inside the chicken coop, because they'll get up to the eggs and start eating the eggs too. On the front of the green or the chicken coop, I need to finish. I never did finish the door. I want to be able to put a nice little frame around the door and put a casing around the door to finally finish that project off. Also, all of my outbuildings get a new paint job this year. As you can see, the paint is wearing away on the roofs. As I go from project to project, you'll see that paint is flaking off. So we're going to be repainting all the surfaces, including the roofs of all my outbuildings, just to make things look a little bit neater and tidier. Just in case Hollywood wants to come back to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm and shoot another feature. We'll see. Focusing on the next project would be the bunny bungalow. I had a snow load get on the roof, slide down, and tear this gutter off. So I've got to get up there and do some repair. There's also some modifications I want to do up in the attic. I have an idea for a water cistern in the attic that is actually a lot better. I was inspired by a certain feature just by looking around the community and seeing what I could use for a water cistern that is pretty safe and watertight that I can put up there. And I come up with an idea, so look forward to that video, and I'll show you my innovation I come up with. You may want to copy that. Hey, I don't mind you guys copying. I don't mind copying at all, because imitation is the highest form of flattery, and I don't mind. I know some people get really offended when they're copied and stuff. I don't. It doesn't bother me a bit. One of the other things I need to do on this bunny bungalow inside is replace the piping that I installed. I didn't get a large enough diameter pipe for washing the sewage down and out of the bunny bungalow to make it an easy cleanup for me. Those pipes are too small. I thought they would be big enough. So I'm going to completely disassemble the inside. I got to repair this spot in the ceiling from the original water cistern that's up in the attic. That's what caused this damage. Anyway, got to repair this damage and put a new type of surface on the wall I have an idea on what I want to put on the wall so the rabbits won't chew it, and then install a larger piping for the poop collection. And then of course the bunny bungalow will have its paint job on the inside and the outside. The quack shack, I gotta do some repairs since we got those predators that came in and stole my turkeys and tore the fencing apart. I gotta repair that, putting new netting on there, and I'm gonna do some modifications inside, or finish the inside with the original modifications I had planned to do when I built the thing. I just didn't have the material. But now I have the material laid aside. I'm going to go ahead and finish it. I'm also going to extend off to the side of the quack shack and add another aviary for the turkeys, so I can have turkeys on one side with their enclosure, and I can have a safe space for the ducks and the geese to go in and have their safe space, and that way my livestock are protected. The barn I don't really need to do much with. I was pretty thorough at building the barn. It's relatively new. We don't need to paint it because all the metal surfaces we put up were all pre-painted, and they should last a lifetime or longer than a lifetime. So there's no modifications I do plan to add to the barn. It's just going back on this cross fence line and adding this fencing that I resourced from replacing the garden fence. I'm going to go ahead and put this field fencing across the back and replace this electrical fencing. And I'll go ahead and fortify it with one or two electrical strands, one down below on the inside of the pasture and one across the top. We'll see how I can figure that one out. But we've got the goats that right now are in, I call it in eustress. They're in heat right now. So I've got to look at my budget and see if I can afford to take them over to the back side of the mountain and get them bred with the buck. Did I mention that was good coffee? Yeah. So, yeah, I got my grass planted this last year, and so now all it's I have to do is just wait for the grass to grow, and then I can start rotating the livestock on the back pasture. I have 4 pastures to rotate them on, so that shouldn't be a problem. And yet the water well is unfinished. Actually, the well house is finished, but this new tank that I put in, this 2,500 gallon tank, I need to still plumb it in, both the outflow and inflow of water, and I also need to build a heavily insulated house around the tank to protect it from UV rays and from the rise and fall of temperatures during the different seasons, to keep the water at a more moderate rate. And then I also need to do a little bit of maintenance on the well house. Of course, it's going to get a paint job, and this roof is also going to get a paint job as well. The pond, I need to let it dry up this year. I just need to go down and rent a Bobcat tractor with a bucket on it and get in there and scoop all the sediment out and get it back down to its original depth, to get it cleaned up, and maybe get some aquatic plants planted in there that aren't so invasive, and then try to stock it with some fish also, in addition to what I got plans for the greenhouse. I also need to add some more livestock this year. I'm going to be buying some turkeys. I'm going to be buying some more chickens, and I am going to be buying some more ducks. My poor lonely duck. Luckily the geese are really tolerant of his presence, so he's not too bad off, but he's sure lonely for a female. I've got down to the one duck. And I do enjoy ducks on my homestead. I've always had a pet duck around since I was a little kid. Few minor things to repair around the house, and that is just put paint on this little arbor that I built, or trellis that I built, and also across the lattice work around my garden, get things painted. I might even just go ahead and put a new coat of paint on the house. The colors I want, I'm going to have a hard time talking my wife into it because I've always dreamed of having a yellow house trimmed in white with a white picket fence. I may not get away with that. I may end up just painting it the same color, giving it a new coat, and using a little bit bigger brush this time. Well, that's all the projects I have planned for 2020. If I can afford it and I get everything done, one of the main projects I really want to do is this is new, is I want to buy a wood stove, have it installed into the house. I want to purchase a wood splitter. I want to purchase a wood chipper shredder, and I want to purchase a chainsaw or two, so we can cull some timber off the mountain. There's some timber that's dying up there, and it's best if I can just cull it and get it split and gathered, and then also build a little bit of a woodshed to store it in. So those are the projects planned for 2020. Also, don't forget, tomorrow on January 2nd, our new episode on Discovery Channel, Homestead Rescue Series, is airing at 10/9 Central. The title of that one is Savage Wilderness. It will be also airing later that night or early the next morning at 2 a.m. 1 a.m. to Central. Yeah, at 1 a.m. to Central. Or is it midnight? I don't know. Check your local listings for Savage Wilderness. It's a new episode we filmed for Discovery Channel. And it's part of I think it's a 1 hour program, but it airs immediately after the 2 hour season premiere of the new season of Homestead Rescue. So check that out. And also, the following Thursday on the 7th, I believe at 5 or 6 p.m., is a rerun of our original episode, Honey, I Torched the Homestead, on the Discovery Channel too. So check those out. Stay tuned to more videos. You could do that by following our adventures here, simply by clicking that bell icon that alerts you to new videos as I upload them. If you haven't yet already, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and leave a comment. I do enjoy reading your comments. You can follow us on social media. I'm on Facebook under Jerry Hansen. I'm also on Twitter, Pinterest, Reddit, Blogger, and Tumblr. Those are the ones I'm uploading to right now. Please also check out the merchandise I have selling below, and also there's some video links to some very valuable videos that you guys may be interested in if you're wanting to buy a homestead. And speaking of which, if you guys are unable to watch Discovery Channel on your network TV, go onto the computer and type in Discovery Channel or discoverygo.com, and there's some shows on there that's available to view for free. And I believe our episode will be able to be viewable for free. If you don't want to go there, also try Amazon.com in their video section and go to Homestead Rescue Series to Season 6, I believe it is. Either Season 5 or Season 6. And click on those seasons. There's some free videos ready for viewing there. You can view for free right off of Amazon. Hey, we'll see you guys in the next video. Adventure. I'm Jerry Hansen. Bye-bye.